So, Sue-Ann, Fintech hype, you wrote about this cover story last week. Everybody is talking about Fintech, right? So, why is everybody so hype about this topic?
Now we can see a lot of the fintech startups that have started a couple of years ago, and also in recent years, the tech giants, the likes of Google, Apple, Samsung in China, Alipay, Tencent moving into this space. So suddenly, these new entrants into financial services are becoming big enough to pose a threat to financial institutions as we know them.
I see. So we have our fair share of problem when we go to banks, customer service, they are not serving us rightly. And then ATM machines, we cannot find it. So how advanced do you think Malaysian financial services now? Do we really think that we should integrate, we should actually adopt the fintech hype?
Certainly a lot of very interesting innovations are coming out in financial services. They're led by startups, they're led by very well financed firms, internet giants. Banks are also getting into the game. Remember that banks have always used technology to make their internal processes easier, to make different products for customers, and to hopefully make the banking experience easier. So it's not like banks are sitting there not doing anything. It's just that I guess the pace of technology now is very, very dizzying. So the challenge for banks is, yes, we know that they know that consumer demands are changing. Consumers want a better experience with banking, more convenience. But the flip side is that security, risk and compliance, that's what the banks are thinking about.
Also from your story, I read that millions of dollars have been pouring in to this space, fintech. But which subsector do you think that is getting these investments to grow?
Most of the investments into fintech companies are going into payments and also lending. So a lot of the investments is channeled towards things that tend to be more consumer facing. Because it's just easier to acquire for B2C to acquire a customer than for you to sell like to B2B.
Also in your story, you say that any kind of company that can plug into peer-to-peer lending platform, they will be able to provide loans. But do you think the regulators are doing something about it? Do you think, let's say for example, we see in the market a lot of people are borrowing, a lot of people are giving loans, but are the regulators doing anything about it?
Oh yeah, surely. I think the Malaysian regulators have been quite on the ball with peer-to-peer things. So remember that last year the Securities Commission gave out licenses for equity crowdfunding platforms. Malaysia was the first country in the region to do that. In May this year, the SC has also started accepting applications for people who are wanting to operate peer-to-peer lending platforms in Malaysia. So certainly the regulators have been very proactive with offering a regulatory framework, so that the operators know what rules to play in. Investors can be sure that there are certain levels of protection for them if they want to put their money onto a lending platform, and also for people who are borrowing from these platforms.
You talked to Genesu CEO Sue, and he said, this is very interesting, he said it does not matter if you build a better elevator because they're not going to take out the existing elevator. What does he mean by that? Does he mean that the banks industry, they are dispensable?
There are some small number of people who hope that fintechs can have that kind of disruptive element to it. But I think more people believe that, look, there is room for collaboration. There is room for like banks to also play a role in this. So will banks go away because there are new entrants, new competitors that are not banks? I think a lot more people believe that it's not so easy to just kill off banks. Banks are an integral part of the economy. As much as regulators would like to see a more innovative banking experience for consumers, they are also mindful of the fact that they have to put in the appropriate safeguards so that the structure of the economy is not challenged. Like you really don't want to see a bank failure in any economy that has disastrous effects. So for the regulator, I guess the challenge is to manage the balance between pushing for innovation and also having a secure and stable
So it's
banking
actually
platform.
ultimately it's not something like you go out and you hail a taxi nowadays, because a lot of people, they don't do that anymore. They use Uber, they use Grab Taxi, that kind.
Yeah, that's a very good observation. I think a lot of innovation has happened in the consumer space for tech. You're right in that almost nobody stands on the side of the street and hails a taxi anymore. We all use Uber and Grab. People are getting more used to buying things online. So then the next wave is, can more of financial services migrate to being mobile first, to being more, having a better user experience. But the reality is that financial services is not the same as taxi booking or buying clothes online. Financial services requires a lot more care in terms of risk compliance. So yes, financial services is a bit slower to evolve, but we're seeing signs with fintech that it can be done. It can be done.
But I believe that ultimately, at the end of the day, banks will still be there. But it depends on what kind of role they play.
Exactly,
in the
you're right.
society.
You're exactly right.
So you also spoke to Hong Leong Bank Digital Evolution COO, Raja. Okay. What is she worried about the changing of the landscape? Is she worried about fintech taking over the banks?
Rajate is not a banker that is worried about technology. I would say she's the one of the rare few who actually is genuinely excited by what fintech can bring. If you look at the story, I think there's a quote by her where she's excited about how banking experience will evolve because of what fintech can offer. So her only worry really is that the banking industry does not get it, does not come on board. So if banks can use fintech to enhance their business, she believes that banks will continue to have the upper hand because banks already have scale.
For more on the stories, pick up a copy of The Edge Weekly at all good newsstands.